Hello, we're gonna do some dry point printing now. Make sure you have all your supplies. You should have some ink. You should have a water bottle. You should have some wipes. You should have your printing plate, something underneath it so you're not making a mess, paper to print on, and scrap paper to put in between when we're using the press. So let's get started. I'm gonna take my ink. You might need to shake it up a little. I'm gonna put it on my plate. And I'm gonna rub that ink into the burrs or the scratches on the surface of this plate. So this is getting the ink in those scratches so that when we print our relief printing or our relief print, it will come from those scratches. So I have this all covered now. I'm gonna throw this away. I'm gonna take a clean wipe and clean this off. You know, you don't wanna press too hard because you don't wanna lose that ink that you put in the grooves. That can mess up your ink. And I'm just wiping this off. I know it's counterproductive, but the ink that is in the scratches or the burrs will still be visible. You can see how it's visible in some areas where I'm wiping off. Now this is just my test proof that I'm doing here. I wanna see if my grooves are deep enough for my print. So I made a mess of that, so I'm gonna clean the back side off. You wanna make sure that you have all the ink off of the top surface of the print ding plate. You don't want that there. You want it to be in the scratches only. The reason why it was important to wash my hands is so that I'm not getting any ink on my prints. So I'm gonna start setting this up here. I'm gonna put one scrap paper underneath. I'm gonna get my final paper that I'm printing on, and I'm gonna spritz it with water. Make sure you're not near your plate when you do that. Now this is too wet, so I'm gonna get a ShamWow, which I forgot to tell you guys to grab, and I'm going to put my paper in the ShamWow to get some of that moisture off. You want your paper to be damp. You don't want it to be sopping wet. You don't want it to be dry. If it's too wet, print won't pull right, and if it's not wet at all, your print won't transfer. Depending on the type of paper, some paper is more absorbent than others, so that's gonna affect how your ink is gonna be transferred. I can already see in some areas that my print's not gonna turn out the best because I didn't finish wiping off the ink. So you wanna make sure you take your time a little bit more to do that. I have my scrap paper down. I'm gonna put my printing paper on top of that. This is just to prevent ink from going in directions you don't want it to go. I'm putting my printing plate on top of my print, and then I'm putting a scrap paper in between. This is once again to protect ink from going where you don't want it to go. Shutting the blankets. Okay, so this is the printing press. You want to be careful when you're using it. You are not adjusting the pressure knobs up here, or what happens is you could crack your printing plate when you're pushing it through. So keep it at the pressure it's at. If it needs to be adjusted, let me know and I will adjust it. It should not though, unless you're using thicker paper like cardboard or something. You want to make sure you're catching the tension on here, so I'm gonna pull this towards me. And right now it's really easy to pull. Once I hit where the plexiglass is, it's gonna have a little more tension. So I'm pulling it over, keeping my hand here to keep that plate steady. And I'm gonna go back. When you're going back, you might need to push a little pressure to get that metal plate in a little, and then you're gonna pull it through. You only need to do that twice, but if you want to, you can do it extra. And then I'm gonna pull up my blankets, pull off my scrap paper, and you can see this is why I have the scrap paper here so that you're not getting that ink onto the blankets. Pull up my printing press. I can now clean off this, or my printing plate. I can clean this off. And here is my print. Not bad at all. The moisture is just right on the paper, but you can see I did not clean it off the best, so there's some areas that shouldn't be on there. You can also look on here and see if there's areas that you need to scratch a little deeper. So this here, I would probably need to do this a little deeper and scratch that and then do another print. Have fun.